Oh, and a warm welcome to you, a warm 1% School welcome to you all. This is the penultimate day before the last day tomorrow. And like we said, it's week 2, twice the fun, twice the workshops, twice the value as well that we've got for you. Okay. So today we've got marketing 101. Like we said, I think in the first week, think of business, think of startups as two things. We got the product, the service, and then the marketing. These two are a match made in heaven, right? They're going to be, this is how to propel what you have. Sometimes a marketed, sometimes it's so marketing can be so good you end up buying something that you don't even want, right? Have you heard of that? Remember Steve Jobs creating a need in you and a desire in you, even though you didn't have that before. Marketing is truly a skill, a sought after skill, and a very important one as well. Before I introduce our workshop extraordinaire, my good friend, as well as a fellow mentor on the from the Association of Business Mentors, as well as the 12 Ronnies Club as well, a Mentors Club, Chris Talintyre. I'm going to talk to you a little bit, a reminder of sorts about how to approach these workshops, right? Remember, we're going to be learning fast, and I'm drilling this into you every single day. But what does that mean? We forget what we thought we knew about marketing in particular, about this subject. Active, making sure that you're taking notes, making sure that you're asking questions if need be. And state, your state will be, one of absorbing this knowledge, sitting up straight, making sure that you are comfortable and hydrated, of course, making sure that you're hydrated and you've got good sunlight. And then T is teach. What does that mean? The Feynman technique, meaning you want to absorb this knowledge so good that you can teach it to a 7-year-old. Okay, you can teach it to your younger siblings, cousins, family, whoever they may be. Okay, I am going to now pass it over to the one, the man, the myth, the legend that is Chris Talintyre, founder of Polything Marketing Consultancy for direct-to-consumer businesses that want to build marketing momentum. I'll let him do the intros, but it's been an absolute pleasure working with Chris and meeting him in person at the Association of Business Mentors. He is somebody with a passion for helping businesses, and it's written all over his face and it's written all over his LinkedIn profile as well. So over to you, Chris. A little intro to yourself and what we're going to be going through today. And everybody know, please do be interactive. We're going to be asking you questions in the chat, and we're going to get you to unmute as well if you'd like as well. So thank you so very much, Chris. Over to you.
Hello. Welcome, everyone. It sounds like I've got the after lunch shift, which near the end of this journey for you guys, you're probably a bit tired, a little bit jaded, but hopefully you don't fall asleep during this. But marketing can be one of two things. It can be really interesting, or it can be very process driven. So welcome, everyone. My name's Chris. As we've talked about already, I run a small marketing consultancy, as Mo's already said, and I'm a business mentor, which is an interesting thing to do, and I think a really important thing to do as well in terms of giving back. Today, I've been asked to talk about Marketing 101. So I've titled this slide 439, and I guess it's my first sort of lesson to you, or the first sort of insight I've got for you. Why do you think I might have called that 439? You can comment, maybe just think about it. There's people in the waiting room. Yeah, I can't actually see any comments, so you might need to let me know if there is anything.
Cool. We've got some people typing in. What do you think the significance of 4:39 a.m. is? Okay. Wow. Okay. So Burhan, he's saying that's the time you decided to change your career. Chris, is that true?
No, it's not. Interesting idea though. It's the time I woke up with this presentation already in my head. So I guess the insight really is that when the muse hits, you've got to go with it. Whenever inspiration hits or appears, you've got to act on it straight away, whatever time of night or day. and just follow that energy is essentially my first bit of insight for you. So I woke up at 4:39 and I pretty much knocked out an entire presentation in about 20 minutes. Then came back to it a couple of days later. I just filled it out, completed it out a bit, and then it was complete. So use the muse, I guess, is the lesson.
Can we just get some fire emojis for that creative process? Come on. Let me just hear some. What that was just. Wow. That is just incredible. We're ready now. Look, everyone's on fire. No, thank you so much for sharing your creative process. It's really inspiring.
And not to get too deep straight away, but the way I see things is that the source makes things available to us. The filter distills those things, and the vessel, which is what we are, we receive that information. And all of that stuff happens beyond our control. So all we can do is really be alive to it and be open to it, I guess, and be curious. So let's move on to an agenda. Not something I often do, but I thought it might be useful for you guys to understand where we're going. So today we're going to talk about a couple of things. Focus is the first little exercise, and then we'll move into sort of like the main part of marketing, which is a big old subject. I did mean to figure out how big the UK marketing industry is worth, but it's going to be in the billions. So, all I'm saying is this is my take on marketing. There are hundreds of thousands of people working in marketing, and everyone will have a slightly different take. So this is just my learnings. Take what you will from it, use what's useful, and then just discard the rest is my advice. Then I've got some quick cheat codes, so stuff that I've learned along the way in 20 odd years of marketing. And then the last thing is really an action, just like the simplest step that you can take on your marketing journey from where you are now. So let's move on. Let's get present. So this is something called an IQ check-in. So what I'd like you to do, it can be a phone, it can be a piece of paper and a pen if you're analog, it can be whatever note-taking device you've got. I first like you to write down how you're feeling. Get in touch with your emotions. Secondly, I'd like you to write down how present you feel. So what I mean by that is how much do you feel in the moment? And maybe do that as a percentage rather than trying to write down lots of words to explain that. And the third thing I'd like you to do is then think about what is stopping you from being present right here, right now. So it could be issues at home, could be issues at work, could be things you're thinking about, whatever it is, write those things down quickly. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. Maybe you can give a show of thumbs up or something like that to let us know when everyone's finished.
Chris, would it be all right for them to put it into the chat, do you reckon? Or
yeah, whatever you like.
They feel comfortable, they feel comfortable, that would be quite nice. If you feel comfortable enough, that's really, really good check-in right here. I'm going to do that myself now as well.
Like I say, I can't see the chat, so you might have to.
Yeah, perfect. I'll read it out. So, how are you feeling? How present do you feel? What's preventing me from being 100% present, right? And then write down what resonates. Okay. All right. Really interesting. Burhan talking about that he feels. So Isaac says he's happy and nervous. Burhan is saying he's slightly tired, 80% present. Woke up from a nap, pretty sure whilst he was in REM or deep sleep.
Oh yeah, nice.
In REM, brilliant.
I could talk about REM for hours, but I don't have time to do that today, unfortunately.
Yeah, Chris, I think yesterday I would love to chat to you offline about something called conscious driven design. But yeah, we'll talk about that. Let's just pin that to the side. 75%, Mohammed says, disappointed and slightly annoyed.
Oh no.
Interesting. Well, yeah, let's tap into that. What's that? Where's that emotion resonating from? And what's going on? What's presenting you? What's preventing you to be 100% present? Maybe something. You have problems in the household. Oh, okay, at home. Interesting. Okay, something that is it your thoughts about the problem that's affecting you, or the actual problem? That's a question I love to ask myself sometimes. A bit of Eckhart Tolle.
Most gone into mental mode.
Happy and nervous, 85% present, 85% because I'm nervous thinking about the pitch tomorrow. Ooh, okay. No worries. We can help you. We walk through the emotions together, Isaac. No worries. And you'll be ready for tomorrow.
Right. That sounds great. So what I'd like you to do is just keep that note open, whether that's on your phone or your desktop or whatever. And as we go through the presentation, I only want you to write down stuff that resonates with you. So stuff that you notice, stuff that you think is interesting. There's going to be a lot of stuff, so don't worry about capturing everything because you'll get the presentation anyway. Just write down the stuff that really resonates with you, that makes sense, or that you feel that there's a connection with that idea or thing. Okay, let's move on. So what is this? Can I get an idea what people think this is? Maybe in the chat might be the best thing.
Which one is it? Is it art or is it marketing?
Or is it marketing?
Should we get a little poll up? One second. Marketing. Quickly. Poll. Okay, what is this? Is it art or marketing? Do a little poll. See how it works. Select. Can you guys see? Give me a thumbs up if you can see that poll. Yeah, brilliant. All right, please select what it is. Okay, I'm gonna go with both. Okay. Wow. Okay, that's 9 of you. Got two more people. Okay, brilliant. I think everybody's voting marketing, Chris.
Okay. Yeah, I can just about see that actually. I can see
And maybe
six.
three people have voted art.
So this is really interesting because it's actually a piece of art by an artist you probably have heard of called Andy Warhol, and it was made in 1964. And essentially, it's a bunch of Brillo boxes, which is a brand in the US. I don't think we may have had them here, but I don't think we've got them here anymore. So in this context, actually, art is marketing. And I think that was probably the most revolutionary thing that happened with pop art was essentially making marketing an art form. But I guess my question to you guys is, could it work the other way around? But is marketing actually art? Maybe a thumbs up or a thumbs down might help.
Can marketing be art? Everyone's giving a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Interesting. This is really interesting. Thumbs down, a few thumbs down, saying that marketing can't be art. It's more of a science, maybe.
Okay. Well, I think all those views are valid. But I'd just like to give you one quote by a very famous music producer called Rick Rubin. I don't know whether you've ever come across him, but he's been sort of legendary in this field. He's not actually a musician himself, but he's really good at getting creative performances out of musicians. And he says art is actually a circulation of energetic ideas. And that kind of resonated with me, so I captured that. I don't know how you feel about that.
Wow. Could you say that again? Art is a circulation
of energetic ideas.
Wow.
So I think in that context, actually, marketing can be art.
Really interesting. Give us a brain emoji if that got your neurons firing and wiring in your mind. Yeah, look at that. Loads of brain emojis. Art is a circulation of energetic ideas. Brilliant.
Nice. Right. Sorry, I'm just on the wrong tab here. Let's move on. Might need to speed things up now a little bit. Hopefully you've kind of got into my, oh, where am I? Yeah, so this is some definitions about what marketing is. So the Oxford English Dictionary says it's the action or business of promoting and selling products or services. It's not the most inspiring definition I've ever heard. If you talk to Seth Godin, he's probably one of the most preeminent marketeers in the world at the moment. His whole idea is about remarkability. So what he means by remarkability, he talks about cows a lot as well. He talks about his journeys with cows and noticing cows in fields and things like that. And he was on a journey one day and he noticed these sort of almost just a very different cow that he'd never seen before. But after 3 or 4 miles of traveling through this wilderness, seeing these cows, they became less remarkable. So he came up with this idea of purple cows, like how remarkable would a purple cow be? So his whole kind of angle on it, I guess, is about remarkability in a crowded marketplace. It's about standing out and not being invisible. Some bloke, being me, I kind of think marketing is nothing more than clearly and effectively communicating the true value of what you have to offer the world. And I think you can take that as a product, or you could take that as being yourself as well. That's all we're really trying to do, authentically communicate the true value of what you have to offer. And that could be yourself, or that could be a product or a service. And when I say value, I don't really mean Tesco value. I'm sure you've had the odd nasty Tesco value sandwich or product of some description. I don't mean cheap. So what do we really mean by value? What I mean by value is a couple of things. It's about how do you add something to people's lives? So in what aspects do you improve their lives or make it more enjoyable or make it more convenient with your product and service? How do you solve a problem? So think about the daily annoyances people have and the challenges they face. How does your idea or your solution make their lives smoother or simpler or just plainly less stressful? And the last one is really, how do you help them get a particular job done? It's all very well, thinking in the abstract and thinking, oh yeah, well, I can make people's lives convenient, but what is a job? What are they actually trying to achieve? And what is the done state? What is the point that they want to get to where it's done and they can put it away? Because that's really important. So the next slide I've got is really how a lot of people do start their marketing, but I've entitled it how not to start your marketing. A lot of people, when they start thinking about marketing, they think, oh, company names, they think launch campaigns, they think social handles. I've got to get those social handles and make sure they're dialed. I've got to design logos. I've got to design business cards, decide what my slogans and taglines are and everything. And just all this stuff, just like more and more stuff, more and more output. And I'd suggest that is probably the worst way to start. Really, rather than starting with that, we want to start with understanding what the problems are that your potential customers might have. What are they facing in their lives that is making it difficult that you could help with? So some more marketing stuff. There's a lot of stuff in marketing. People talk about a lot of stuff in marketing. Here are some areas that you will need to cover at some point within your marketing. I'm not going to go into a great deal of detail with these things, but these are kind of like the pillars of what marketing is about. So the first thing I've got here is research, and we'll dive into a couple of these in a bit more detail because I think that some of them are slightly more important than the others in terms of marketing and what we're talking about today. So research is about thoroughly understanding your target audience through research. So research almost like acts as a compass that kind of guides where you should go and what you should do and how you should think about things. And it helps you uncover what people want, what their needs are, what their preferences, and what habits they have as well. Products, everyone likes a well-designed product, but we should think about how that is tailored to your audience or your customer. And really, it's the cornerstone of a successful marketing strategy. So quite often there's a big overlap between what marketeers do and what product innovation do. And a lot of the work that I do is actually in that crossover, because I kind of help companies innovate their products through marketing. So quite often it goes the other way around. A piece of research might give you an idea for a new product. Market. So market is about understanding the right segments within market. How busy is it, or how clear is it? And then focusing in on the types of people, or the kind of niches within that market that are most likely to embrace your product or your service. Availability is about, is your product readily accessible? Can you get it in supermarkets? Is it still stocked? How do they get it online? And it ensures that essentially potential customers always have an option available to them to actually buy your product. Pricing is a big area. So what we want to do here is really strike a balance between the perceived value of a product and the affordability of a product, because we want to pitch that at the right place. Branding. So branding is a huge area, and again, we're not going to have time to go on it into it in any detail. But compelling branding is really about identity and story, and it's about helping build that emotional connection between a consumer and a particular service or a product, and your brand. So relationships is another big one, and this is more about the ongoing relationships you have with a customer. So they could be, how do you acquire them? What are the routes you go through to acquire them? How do you foster loyalty? How do you make them think good of you? How do you excite them? And how do you get them to the point where they advocate for you? They go out and actually do your marketing for you. And also, it's also about lifetime value. How do you turn one-time buyers into essentially devoted brand advocates? People that really enthuse about your brand. And the last one, which we will dive into a bit deeper later, is about messaging. It's the clear and compelling messages that resonate with people. And that's really, really important, because it is about communication, and it's about communicating the real value of your product or your service. Is that too much? Have I lost everyone? Is everyone still
give us fire emojis for that absolute fire, or however you're feeling right now. Give us emoji to. Oh, look at that! It's all just fires, man. Loads of brains. so much brains. Oh wow! Look at that. Lot of oh, that's incredible stuff. Cool.
Yeah, there's a lot in there. So yeah, that was my worst slide. Okay, so we're over the worst bit. Okay.
Wow, so much value there. Thank you so much.
There's a lot of stuff there, a lot of stuff in there. But think of it, and like I said before, write down stuff that resonates. So next bit is research, and I've kind of done another slide on research because I think it is so important. Time and time again in my world, when I get a new client, 9 times out of 10. The main problem they've got is they didn't do enough research, and they're still not doing enough research. People don't really invest that much in research, but it's so important. This is probably the most important slide, I think, in the whole deck. Is if you can crack this, then everything else is relatively easy. Because why is that? It's downstream from research. Research is your starting point. So if you have a good starting point, you're going to have a good process going on from that. If you have poor research, doesn't matter how smart your messaging is, if it's targeted at the wrong people, it's not gonna do anything. So broadly speaking, there's 2 types of research. There's qual and quant. Does anyone know what qual and quant mean?
Yeah, some of you might know this as as qualitative and quantitative research. Yeah, Ishaq. Okay, brilliant.
Yeah.
Who else? Anybody else heard of these terms? Quant, qualitative, or quantitative? Brilliant. Cool. Yeah, Isaac as well.
Great. So
Thumbs up.
you all know that. That's
Some
great.
of I think some, maybe the others don't.
Okay. So I think qual is really where you would sit down with someone and you'd understand the problem in more detail. And it's stuff you couldn't necessarily, you can write it down, but you couldn't necessarily measure it in numbers. Whereas quant or quantitative is about numbers, it's about surveys, it's about responses, it's about click-through rates. It's like any research that you can do that will result in a number. So we want a method, in terms of our methodology, we need both of these things. We need the detail of what people are thinking and saying, but also more importantly, we need to know what they're doing. And that's the qual aspect. It can be saying as well, but essentially we always want to get to doing as opposed to saying, because what consumers do is more important than what they say. And quite often they tell us things that they think we want them to say rather than what they actually do, if that makes sense. So that's good. Let's move on. Next one is value proposition. Who has been through value proposition in the last 2 weeks? Hopefully someone somewhere as part of this course has talked about value proposition. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Thumbs up if you remember some of the stuff that Simon, Bill mentioned a little bit. We didn't go through this beautiful value proposition canvas, which is a really helpful tool. But we did talk about customer jobs, a little bit about the pains, but we didn't go through the value proposition canvas. No, but
Okay.
this is really helpful. It's really good to bring it all together.
So this is really important, and this is really our starting point in terms of marketing, in terms of where we go from here. So really what we're looking at on the one side is stuff external to us. So that is the customer profile. It's like what is it all about the customer? What things are they trying to do? What jobs are they trying to perform? What gains are they looking for when they're trying to perform that job? What are the outcomes that would be good for them? Also, as well as the sticking points, what are the blockages? What are the things that are stopping them from getting that job done? Ideally, you guys are in the ideal place because you don't have a product yet. You can then build your value proposition around what customers need. But quite a lot of the clients I work with already have a product suite, or they have in a single product. And quite often the alignment between what products and services they've got, the pain relievers that they perceive are valuable, and also the game creators that they perceive are valuable, the fit is wrong. So when we go back to research, we find out actually these people want totally different things from what their products are currently targeting. So the bit in the middle is essentially called the fit. So that's where you get a connection between a product and service that you're offering and a job that someone's trying to get done, and your product satisfies those pains and gains. So that's the ideal. That's kind of where we want to get to. So think about those things when you're thinking about your product or your service, and really that helps you understand what you're really marketing, because it's the fundamental part of what we're going to offer consumers is the product or is the service. So we better make sure there is a good fit, but also think about, what do you stand for? What are your values? How can you bring those to bear? Because these are all valuable branding assets that you can build a story with. So that's why value proposition's really exciting. So this next slide, I had a bit of an issue with, and you might see why. Don't know who's a fan of GIFs or not. I don't know, but this is the best one that I could find. So apologies in advance. Does anyone know what a waggle dance is? Can someone tell me what a waggle dance is?
Give me a thumbs up if you know. Whether that's fortunately or unfortunately, let me know. Yeah, everyone seems to know. Thumbs down if you haven't seen this. If you haven't seen this, you must be under a rock somewhere, right? The waggle dance. It takes a bit of time to master, right? Or was it innate for you folks? Let me know. But yeah, we got a few thumbs up. Brilliant.
Right. So a waggle dance. you probably know it's done by bees, and bees do a waggle dance to really show the rest of the bees where to go to get pollen. Oh, there's one at the door. Should we get them in?
No worries. Yeah, they're in now.
So they do a dance to show the other bees where to go and get pollen, or where to go and get nectar. So the other bees follow the waggle dance bee. They can understand the dance and that tells them where to go to find those plants. But probably what you didn't know about waggle dance is that there's probably about 15% of bees that don't follow the waggle dance, and they totally ignore the waggle dancer, and they just go off and do their own thing. So why would they do that? Any ideas?
Interesting. So we're saying that the majority of bees would follow that waggle dance, and then others just don't follow. Just kind of do their own thing. That's
They just go off and do
really.
their own thing.
Is that kind of anti? So I'm just talking on behalf of everyone, but like kind of.
Any ideas?
Yeah. Any thoughts? Anti-group thinkers, because they don't want pollen. Itzhak says, because they don't want pollen, because they're full up. Rebellion.
Rebellion.
A mutiny.
It kind of is a bit like that. Anything else?
So you got like the group thinkers, and then you've got the independent thinkers.
Yeah.
That's another idea.
So the reason that they don't is because if everyone followed the waggle dance, essentially the hive would die. Is the net result, because all of the bees would exploit the resources that the waggle dancers are showing, and they would never find any new sources of food. So essentially, the 15% are the most important 15%. And I think this kind of relates to you guys. It's like, do we want to be the bees that follow the waggle dance? Who wants to be a waggle dance follower?
Interesting. Yeah. Are you a waggle dance follower, or are you from the 15%? Or are you from the 1% of that 15%? Okay.
Yeah. So my message here is differentiate. Does that, like, I hope you know what differentiate means. It means be different. Differentiate your product. Differentiate the way you speak, the way you communicate with people. Do the stuff that other people aren't doing, or do it differently from the way other people are doing it, especially if you're in a crowded market, because that's the only way you can stand out. And I was going to use another example here of differentiation, and it's quite often related to, and I see it all the time in different markets. People are like 5-year-olds playing football. Have you ever watched a bunch of 5-year-olds playing football? They all run after the ball. It's like a big crowd of kids just traveling from one side of the pitch to the other side of the pitch. And we don't want to be like that. We kind of want to be on the outliers. We want to be strategizing. We want to have that structure there. We want to be different and apart from that. Mm-hmm. So just finishing off on the mechanics. There's some other things that we need to get in place. So one of the things we need is a marketing plan. So this is really where all of this stuff is pulled together. So it's there's another concept that I use quite a lot with clients is reductive thinking and emergent thinking. Sorry, convergent, divergent, and emergent thinking. So this is the convergent part, where we kind of made all those connections, and we need to pull everything together into a marketing plan that will detail, what is the marketing mix, what sort of channels are we using, what's our branding, where are we going to position ourselves in the market. All of that stuff would come into the marketing plan, as well as like budgets and like what activity we were going to do. But there's two routes to doing this. Traditionally, and quite a lot still, I see clients that do this in a linear fashion. So it's like a waterfall, it kind of goes from top to bottom. But in this world, especially as how fast we're moving right now, what I've helped clients do is become more agile around it. So rather than worrying about completing everything from A to Z, we actually just have a bunch of stuff that we know we want to do at some point. We kind of stick that up on the wall, and then every 2 weeks, a bit like a development scrum, we kind of go through it and we talk about like where have we got to with the stuff that's in process at the moment, what stuff can we get done, and then what's new stuff do we think is going to make a difference at that point. And that's a much more productive way of working. Relationships. So again, we can touch on that, but again, excuse me, it's about acquiring customers, retaining them, servicing them, excuse me, communicating with them, and working out what they want in the future.
Take some water for a bit, Chris. You got some? No worries. And yeah, any thoughts on there? Feel free, because it's really interesting, right? A lot of the workplaces still follow this old school waterfall type of system, rather than being more agile with it, which I struggle with as well, with these large incumbents and companies. Kind of really, still old school. We're still old school, Chris. We need to get with the time.
Yeah. Okay, let's give it a go. So messaging is important, but everything else has to be in place first. So as we talked about before, great messaging with poor targeting just isn't. It's going to be a failure. So different messaging approaches. So these are the things I've been aware of or found. Suzo Banderas, like, outrageous. I was on the internet the other day and found this quote from her. I think it was her.
Chris, just take some time just to clear out your throat, because it's all good. It's all good. Don't worry. we can go through some questions with the folks. Is that all right? Do you want to clear out the throat as well?
It's just a bit tickling.
Yeah. Feel free to take out some raw honey as well. We don't want you to that voice is that those dulcet tones need protecting. Okay, we need to prioritize those, not these slides. We can always do the slides later, but I want to make sure the dulcet tones are there and your voice is good. But yeah, guys, in the chat, let us know what was the thing that resonated with you the most so far. Well, we've been through so many points. Put it into the chat right now. What do you think? What's the point there? And remember, I said with the pitching tomorrow, marketing we purposely left out, because we didn't want to give you too much of that because of Chris's session today as well. So how are you going to be marketing your idea now? What are some of the ideas that have come to your mind from the slide so far? Give me a shout in the chat as well. Anything that's resonated with you? And when you just share one idea, that allows others to then share their ideas as well, right? So feel free to put anything into the chat while we storm through as well. So this is the most beautiful presentation, by the way, that I've seen for quite some time.
Oh,
definitely the most beautiful presentation I've seen for the whole of the 1% School, as well as value packed. Each slide has got so much value. So thank you so very much, Chris. I have to stop you midway and say that I'm really grateful.
But we're almost there
as well. So
yeah,
brilliant. So messaging
approach. So yeah, I was actually outraged enough to really capture this quote, that marketing is the art of making something better than it really is. I mean, on what levels do you think that quote is wrong or bad? This is my view. You may disagree, but
okay. Just before we go to that, I think Burhan wanted to give you a shout out. When Chris said I have a marketing plan using a mix of channel, it resonated with me, because he's been reading. Wow, you're an absolute G, mate. Reading Traction by Gabriel Weinberg. Yeah, top read. Well done. Going to give you some heat, my man, for that. Going to give you some. Huge heat over there. And it speaks a lot about focusing on 2 to 3 channels at once, then really maximizing its output. Side note, but I not everyone's a big fan of Gary Vaynerchuk, but he does talk about using the Pareto principle as applied to marketing channels, meaning that the channels that are doing well, maybe TikTok, for example, is one of those, or Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts, put your 80% into there. But then the new channels that are coming up, yeah, play around with it. Spend the 20% of your time, energy, resources on those. So I really love the idea of maxing out channels, trying out new ones. Brilliant, Burhan. Brilliant stuff.
Have you
And
heard
so,
the acronym of ABC in the sales world?
no, I
Always
haven't.
be selling. I've kind of got my own version of that, and it's
Wow.
ABT. Always be testing.
Mm,
Always be selling. I've
wow.
always had difficulty with salespeople. So always be selling.
Always be
Always be
testing.
testing.
Brilliant. Love that. That's a brilliant. Yeah, amazing. And selling is S, not C. Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. But they're salespeople, you know.
They can't spell. Burhan. Brilliant. So sorry, Chris. The question that you left us with was: Is this quote? Does this quote sit with you guys? Marketing is the art of making something better than it really is. Mm. This false or kind of false marketing, and then there's real marketing, isn't it, Chris? There's ethical marketing, and then there's unethical.
Yeah, about authority and authenticity and credibility. And I think long term, you may get away with that style of marketing to get the first sale, but are you going to have a long term successful business? I kind of question that. And then let's go way back to Aristotle. Like let's think about this. There is nothing new under the sun these days, but I think ethos, pathos, and logos are so important when it comes to messaging. So if you know anything about Aristotle, it was all about rhetoric and argument and getting your point across. So these are three principles we can use in our own marketing. So ethos is about the way we show up, it's our kind of credibility and the way we present ourselves. Pathos is the emotional content of what we're saying, and logos is essentially our logic behind what we're saying. But we need all three in messaging to actually resonate with customers in the right way. And the last one is a famous, who's heard of the agency called Ogilvy or Ogilvy One? Big agency, US, UK.
All over the world, really. They've got offices in
Yeah, all over the
Dubai.
world.
They've got all over the Middle East as well, and Asia, India, Turkey.
So that was founded. So that was founded by a guy called David Ogilvy, and we're still going.
All right.
A guy called David Ogilvy, and he said something. Well, he's said lots of interesting things over the years.
Like
And
butter.
Ooh, what was that?
What's happening there? Let me just. There you go. That should be not enabled for you guys now. Naughty.
Nothing on that one. Yeah, so he said lots of interesting things over the years. And also, he was like, if anyone's seen Ad Men, he's basically the original Ant-Man that series was based on. But he said if you're trying to persuade people to do something or buy something, it seems logical that you should use their language and use the language in which they think. And we kind of do this in mentoring as well. When someone has said something, we kind of play that back to them, but we use their own words to kind of deepen that connection between the two people. So it's logical that this sort of stuff works. Right, cheat codes.
Just before cheat codes, I think you mentioned something really pertinent there, and it links to the research. The research that you guys will do, you'll pick up words during your interviews and your your one-to-ones, your group focus groups, for example. Take a note of the words that they use in order to communicate their frustrations, communicate why things are not working, and then communicate what's good works for them, and then use that in your marketing. What an absolute hashtag cheat code, right? So brilliant stuff. So thank you so much, and over to you for cheat codes.
Cheat codes. So this is my own personal philosophy, but I think there's been a lot of bad marketing, and marketing can sometimes have a really bad representation and reputation. So I think for me, it's about asking how marketing can have a positive impact on people and also the planet, especially. Another kind of contradiction, but it's an interesting one to think about, is that quite often the opposite of a good idea can also be a good idea. Also, I found over the years that becoming a systems thinker and having more of a systems approach has yielded better results than kind of linear thinking. It's like we do this, we get this result, therefore we should do more of this. It's like, well, we've done this, what impact has it had over here? What things have changed over here? And working that way, quite often you can build out programs that are more effective because everything is interrelated. And it's a system of marketing as opposed to individual activities that work linearly. Capture what resonates. We've talked about that a lot today, but that's worked for me. If everyone else is being logical in your market, so everyone is very, very rational and everyone is doing everything in a very economic, rational way, it pays to be completely illogical. Do something completely different. Be illogical. Try it. Test it. There may be something in being illogical that will work for you. Because logic is kills the magic. Essentially, the essence or the craziness or the creativity gets killed by out and out 100% logic. Do things based on what people do. Again, we talked about this earlier. Do things, your activity, base it on what people do rather than what they say. Because quite often people are well-meaning and they try and say the right thing rather than what they would actually do in that situation. Mostly, marketing is just about psychology and heuristics. Like people overcomplicate it. They fill it full of funnels and touch points and all these other things. But when you boil it down, it's about psychology and heuristics. Who knows what a heuristic is?
It's a big word.
Or give me an example of a heuristic. That's a harder one.
Everyone's flooding to ChatGPT now. Yeah. Let's think about it if you've heard this term before. Everything about everyday versus complex decisions. Yeah. What do you think? Any thoughts over here? Any approach to problem solving or self-discovery? Yeah. Cool. Wow. I thought it was disabled for you guys. I don't know how you hacked the system, right? It is really cool. That's dope, man. I'm all for that. Hack the system.
Hack the system.
But yeah,
heuristics.
Yeah.
An example here of heuristics. So who's heard? I've forgotten the guy's name. He was the captain that landed his plane on the Hudson River.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. I saw that movie. It was maybe.
So essentially, to do that, he used a heuristic. So imagine the situation. You're, I don't know how many thousands of feet above the air. Your engines are gone. You've got smoke coming out. You've got fire coming out of the engines. You must have been in an absolute panic. And he's got radio control guys on the phone on the radio to him, going, "Oh, divert to this airport. Divert to this airport." And literally within a split second, he's saying, "No, I can't make this airport. I can't make that airport." And he makes the decision to land on the Hudson. And do you know how he managed to do that? It's through a heuristic that he learnt when he was gliding. And the heuristic, which is a rule of thumb, essentially, a heuristic is a rule of thumb. So it normally holds true. It's just a quick way of thinking about something. So his heuristic was from his gliding days, because before he became an airline pilot, he was a glider. And what he'd learned then was that anything above your horizon line on your instrument rating, on your instrument panel, you can't get to if you're gliding. So anything below, you can glide to that point. Anything above your horizon line, you can't get there. So what he was doing with all these control towers were saying, "Come and land at our airport." He was checking his horizon line and going, "No, I can't make it." And just use that heuristic to whittle down all the opportunities till he knew the only option was to land on the Hudson. So that's an example of heuristic. And the last one is commoditization is the enemy. So once your market gets to the point where everyone is selling the same thing, and the only thing you're competing on is price and volume, it's done. Be different. I can't emphasize it enough. Be different, rather than get to commoditization. So then I brought those thoughts down to the last slide. So this is the essence, as it were. Do no harm. Be open. Notice. Play. That's really important. Trust the process and be you. That's pretty much it for me.
Wow. I was just thinking. Look, guys. Look, I was just thinking about this in real terms. That I'm probably like twice the age of a lot of you folks, right? And with regards to more than twice the age, with regards to this knowledge, thank you so much to Chris. Huge thank you. This is really the essence of taking your idea from something that's just intangible to really something that can change the world, right? This is absolute liquid gold distilled down for you, and I can't thank you enough, Chris, for taking us through all of this. But if there are any questions, I guess we've got a few minutes, Chris, if you're around.
Well, what I was going to ask you to do really is sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
What I was going to ask you to do really was share your notes. Is like if there's a main takeout from your notes of something that you find resonated with you, can you share it in the chat? And also, more importantly, tell everyone what you're going to do about it. What action you're going to take with that information or that knowledge or that insight. That would be really interesting. It will make my day.
Oh, brilliant. And Chris, would you be able to copy and paste that link into the chat if possible? Or I can type it up if it's okay.
Yeah.
So what Chris has also done for you kindly is to share with you.
What I've actually done is sorry, go on.
No, go after you, Chris.
I'll chuck in the chat. I've actually done a form instead from what we were talking about earlier. So
brilliant. That sounds so good.
So you can choose what you want to get, essentially.
Yeah, brilliant. So more marketing goodies for you, including a list of courses that you can take in order to turbo boost your marketing know-how and knowledge as well. So feel free to click on that. I'll definitely share that with everyone as well on the Telegram channel as well. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate you, my man. And if there are, should we open up for questions, Chris, a little bit?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, cool. Any questions for Chris as he's, it says we need permission on the link.
Hold on.
No worries. Well, you know what? I'll share the form anyway later on via Telegram.
Yeah.
So remember, Telegram is t.me/the 1%School, and I'll definitely share this form on there as well as a recording of this over to you, Chris. Any other questions?
Try again now. It should be sorted out.
I'll have another try at that link as well. Cool. I think some of the brilliant. It works now. Yeah, amazing. Cool. Oh, it still says you need permission. Oh, it's working now. Cool. Amazing. Let's copy link. Let's open it up. Amazing. Refresh it. It should be working. Yeah. Put your details in. You get handouts, a free course, and books, as well as 5 bite-sized newsletters as well. Thank you so very much, Chris, for this masterclass. It was more than a 101. It was a masterclass. So thank you. Any questions? Any questions before we go in? Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Cool. Remember the action point. Well, his camera just turned on by itself. I think that's a message that you should keep your camera on, Buran, man. Yeah. And be more interactive on there.
I was expecting more faces.
Yeah, exactly. Me too as well. But anyway, we'll be seeing faces tomorrow, most definitely, for the pitch, right? So thank you again so very much.